Welcome back to BD Daily Tech News Podcast, where you get daily insights on technology and innovation. I'm your host, and today is 2025, December 7th. You're listening to Beyond Daily Tech Show, our fast, slightly unhinged tour through the biggest stories in AI, gadgets, and future tech.
And I'm your guest. If you like your tech news with fewer stock charts and more actual explanations, you're in the right place. Today, we've got OpenAI doing the "it's not an ad if we call it something else" dance, robotaxis ignoring school buses, Meta saying "see you in 2027", and Apple's execs eyeing the exit.
Plus, a quick look at AirPods Pro 3, which are quietly turning into health trackers and live translators in your ears. No markets, no stock tips, just the tech and what it means for your actual life and work.
Stick around to the end because we'll also talk about how all of this adds up for one big question about where AI assistants and AR glasses are dragging us in the next 5 years.
Let's start with OpenAI. Over the last week, screenshots went viral showing ChatGPT suggesting things like shopping at Target inside conversations. Users said, "Wait, are there ads in my chatbot now?" OpenAI's chief research officer admitted they fell short and has now turned off those ad-style suggestions while they improve the model's precision.
Yeah, and at the same time, another OpenAI exec is on X saying, there are no live tests for ads, and those screenshots are either not real or not ads, which is an incredible sentence. Like, sir, my eyes are real.
To be fair, OpenAI's line is that these are app integrations, not paid placements. Think of it like your phone suggesting an installed app when you type, not a banner ad. But the key issue is perception. If it looks like an ad in a system people deeply trust, it has to be handled with extreme care.
Right, because ChatGPT is not Instagram. When I ask it, how do I fix my budget, I don't want step 1, go to Bigco Bank, conveniently integrated right here. People already treat AI answers like a friend who's good at homework. You don't want to find out your friend is secretly on commission.
Technically, this is the monetization problem for AI assistants. Running large models is expensive. You can charge subscriptions, you can bundle into other products, or you can introduce commerce and ads. But once ads enter the chat, you need strong labeling, user controls, and separation between what's recommended for utility versus what's recommended for revenue.
Yeah, this is where transparency dashboards and toggles matter. Imagine a simple slider. Show commercial suggestions. Off, low, high. If you're a developer building on this stuff, you really don't want your app's credibility torched because the underlying model suddenly started pushing random shopping links.
Exactly. For normal users, the takeaway is simple. If your AI assistant ever starts recommending products or services, look for clear labels like sponsored or partner, and check if you can switch it off. And for teams rolling out internal copilots, you'll want governance rules that say no undisclosed commercial content in answers.
Also, maybe a house rule: if your chatbot reply could be mistaken for a TikTok spawn ad, you probably need to rethink it. The good sign is that OpenAI turned this behavior off quickly. The worrying sign is that this is probably a preview of every big model provider's business model experiments over the next few years.
Speaking of experiments, let's talk about Waymo. The company is filing yet another voluntary software recall with U.S. regulators after its robotaxis were observed failing to stop properly for school buses with stop signs and flashing red lights deployed in cities like Atlanta and Austin.
Yeah, that's one of those scenarios where humans don't need a 200-page spec. Bus, red lights, little humans crossing, you stop. You do not negotiate, you do not vibe check the situation, you just stop.
Waymo says that overall, its vehicles have far fewer pedestrian-related crashes than human drivers, but they also admit, quote, "We know when our behavior should be better." This recall joins several others. Earlier this year, they patched issues with hitting gates and chains, and last year they fixed behavior after collisions with a telephone pole and a towed pickup truck.
So in plain English, what's going on under the hood? Is the car just bad at recognizing school buses? Or is it like, technically the law says I can creep past here at 3 miles per hour, and the software lawyers won the argument?
Most likely, it's an edge case prioritization problem. The system uses cameras, LiDAR, and radar to detect objects, and then a policy layer decides what to do. If the model misclassifies the scene or the policy isn't strict enough, it might treat a stopped bus like any other parked vehicle instead of a do not pass hazard with kids nearby.
So the fix is basically when you see a big yellow rectangle with a stop sign arm and red strobes, you slam the digital brakes and chill. Which is funny because that's also the rule we give 16-year-olds on day 1 of driving school.
For everyday people, this shows two things. First, regulators like NHTSA are watching these systems closely and forcing updates before we get widespread tragedies. Second, full autonomy is still not a solved problem, especially in messy urban environments with rare but critical scenarios like school buses, emergency vehicles, and weird construction setups.
If you live in a city where robot taxis are rolling around, your playbook is treat them like very cautious student drivers. They're probably safer than the average distracted human, but they will absolutely do something awkward at a four-way stop. And for parents, I get why seeing one slide past a school bus is instant nope.
If you're in tech or city planning, the key lesson is that deployment has to be tied to continuous monitoring and rapid over-the-air updates. Waymo doesn't pull all the cars off the road. They push a software patch fleet-wide. That's powerful, but it also means you need strong incident reporting and safety culture, not just cool demo videos.
And maybe one more lesson, if your robot can't reliably handle school buses yet, maybe don't market it as the future of everything. Start with, we are a pretty good late-night ride from the bar, then graduate to, we understand children.
Next up, Meta and mixed reality. An internal memo says Meta is pushing back the big reveal of its next mixed reality glasses, codenamed Phoenix, to the first half of 2027 instead of 2026. Another memo says the delay is to deliver a more polished and reliable experience and to give the team more breathing room.
Building real AR glasses is hard. Batteries are rude, and people don't want a second brick on their face after trying a VR headset once and getting a headache. Also, Apple dropping Vision Pro kind of raised the bar from cool demo to this better feel like the future on day 1.
Leaked details suggest Phoenix will be goggle-like with an external power source, similar to Vision Pro's battery pack. Meta is also working on a limited edition wearable called Malibu 2, and it just bought Limitless, a startup that built an AI pendant for recording and summarizing your life. So the strategy looks like a whole ecosystem of face and body wearables, not just one headset.
The tech under the buzzwords is basically 3 pieces. Super bright microdisplays, a sensor stack that maps your room and your hands in 3D, and an on-device AI that understands what you're looking at and what you're doing. Imagine your glasses knowing you're staring at your fridge again. Here's a recipe and a grocery reorder button.
For normal users, the delay is actually good news. Rushing out half-baked AR glasses risks another Google Glass moment, where the product is technically impressive but socially weird and functionally limited. By 2027, chips will be more power efficient, displays better, and on-device AI far more capable, which means lighter hardware and fewer trade-offs.
If you're a developer, this is your 2-year warning. Start thinking about apps that make sense when people are not staring at a phone screen. Navigation, field service, remote collaboration, fitness coaching, language learning. Anything where having information floating in your real world beats a rectangle in your hand.
And for privacy-conscious folks, this is the time to push for guardrails. AR plus AI plus constant recording is a surveillance machine if it's not designed carefully. Expect big debates about visible recording indicators, local processing versus cloud, and how much of your environment these devices are allowed to remember.
Bottom line, 2027 sounds far, but tech years are dog years. By the time Phoenix lands, you'll either be very ready for glasses that whisper AI into your eyeballs, or you'll be the person at the dinner table saying, phones were enough.
Let's jump to Apple. Bloomberg reports that Johny Srouji, Apple's senior vice president of hardware technologies and the architect behind Apple's in-house chips, has told Tim Cook he's seriously considering leaving for another company. This would add to a wave of senior departures in AI, design, legal, and environmental roles heading into 2026.
Srouji is basically the person who made Apple Silicon happen, from the first A-series chips in iPhones to the M-series in Macs. So if he leaves, that's not like losing the assistant manager at the Apple Store. That's losing the person who made your laptops stop sounding like jet engines.
Exactly. Now, Apple has deep benches of engineers, and chip roadmaps are planned years ahead, so this is not a your next MacBook is doomed moment. But it does matter for long-term strategy, especially as Apple tries to integrate more AI acceleration directly into its chips and catch up in visible AI features.
Meanwhile, on the consumer side, Apple's AirPods Pro 3 are quietly getting interesting. They're down to around $230 on Amazon, about $20 off list, and reviewers are saying the new foam-infused tips and upgraded microphones make the noise cancellation noticeably better in loud places like subways and open offices.
The tech behind that is a mix of better passive isolation from the foam tips plus more powerful on-device audio processing via the H2 chip. Ultra-low noise microphones sample the environment, and the chip generates an inverse sound wave in real time to cancel it. Apple claims up to roughly double the ANC effectiveness versus the previous generation in some environments.
They've also snuck in heart rate sensing, which is wild for earbuds. So your ears are now basically fitness trackers. You can see heart rate data in Apple's fitness app and workout apps without wearing a watch. For people who hate wristbands but love cardio anxiety, this is perfect.
And then there's live translation. With an Apple Intelligence-capable device, you can use the buds to translate in-person conversations in languages like English, French, German, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Portuguese, Spanish, and Mandarin Chinese. The earbuds capture audio, the device runs speech recognition and translation models, and you hear the result in near real time.
So you've basically got a Star Trek universal translator in your ears, plus a heart rate monitor, plus noise-canceling cocoon. At this point, the only thing missing is it whispering, "Don't text your ex" when your BPM spikes at 2 a.m.
For listeners, if you travel, work in noisy environments, or care about your heart health, this is one of those incremental upgrades that can actually change daily quality of life. Better focus at work, safer runs with real-time data, and less panic ordering the wrong dish in a foreign restaurant.
And for developers, remember that all of this runs on device or close to it. That's the theme today. AI and sensors moving into your pocket, your ears, soon your glasses. Less cloud round trips, more real time, more personal data staying local if companies don't mess it up.
So if we zoom out over today's stories, there's a clear pattern. OpenAI is wrestling with how to monetize AI without breaking trust. Waymo is discovering that safety isn't just average crash stats, it's handling the rare but sacred moments like school buses. Meta is delaying AR glasses to get the experience right. And Apple is stuffing more AI and sensing into tiny devices while its leadership quietly reshuffles.
For you, that means 3 practical things. 1, start expecting clear labels and controls around any AI that can sell you stuff. 2, treat early autonomous systems as powerful but imperfect tools, not magic. And 3, when you buy new gear, think less about raw specs and more about the AI features and privacy story baked into it.
If you found this breakdown useful, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss future episodes. We're here every weekday, taking the fire hose of tech headlines and turning it into something you can actually use in your career and daily life.
Which story hits you the hardest? OpenAI flirting with ads, robot taxis and school buses, Meta's AR delay, or Apple's exec shuffle and smarter AirPods? I want to know what future you're most excited about or terrified of.
You've been listening to BD Daily Tech News Podcast and Beyond Daily Tech Show. Thanks for hanging out with us on 2025, December 7th. We'll see you tomorrow with more tech, less hype, and just enough roasting.
Until then, keep your AI honest, your robot taxis cautious, and your earbuds fully charged.